Hi everyone. I don't know how many people are gonna watch this video, but you all know how this is. With this pandemic, I find myself with with way too much time to spare, and I don't know. I've always loved watching video essays and analysis about films and video games, so I asked myself, why not do one yourself? So here I am. I really hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed doing it. So, to begin with, I wanted to explore the relationship between the main characters of two games I personally loved, Life is Strange 1 and 2. Of course, I am talking about Max and Chloe and Sean and Daniel. Interestingly enough, these characters have a strikingly similar relationship, which I find fascinating. I guess for the second game, considering the huge success of the first installment of the franchise, they wanted to use a similar formula. However, there are some differences that completely change the experience and the way the story is conveyed. Regarding Life is Strange 1, the protagonist clearly is Max. We, as the players, are supposed to connect emotionally with her, and she is the character that experiences the most conflict. However, the plot always revolves around Chloe's character. In fact, the inciting incident of the story is when Max saves her life in the bathroom. It sets a completely new objective for the protagonist, and it casts a new light on the course the story is taking. It also reveals Max's powers, which will be, obviously, a key element throughout the game. Structurally, the main plot points of the story are linked to Chloe. When Max makes a decision, she always has Chloe's welfare in mind. The first one would be when she saves her in the bathroom, but there are plenty of examples. When she goes to the past, altering the present and creating an alternative reality only to save her father to make her happy, when she undoes it to prevent her from suffering, when she starts an investigation on Rachel Amber to appease Chloe's concern about her friend, when she goes to the past again to save her life, you get the idea. In fact, Max saves Chloe's life again and again and again and again throughout the game. Accordingly, the final decision of the game is tied to Max's actions up until that point. She has created a horrible fate for everyone who lives in Arcadia Bay only to save her friend. So, is it worth it, or is she delaying the inevitable? These are questions the game raises and are connected to the theme of the story. Max's dramatic need is to realize she can't alter reality regardless of how painful it is for her. She needs to learn that she can't always avoid pain, and it is something she will have to live with. Also, she has to leave her past behind in order to keep going with her own life. Whether she completes her dramatic need or not depends on your final decision as a player. However, the important thing about all this is the dynamic between these two characters. They love and support each other, and they would do anything for one another, which is made clear from the beginning. The story is constantly driven by their relationship. Max's main objective is to keep Chloe safe, and the story is moved by the decisions she makes to achieve it. However, Max needs to let go of her and accept her irrefutable destiny, and her character arc revolves around this realization. Similarly, Sean experiences a similar character arc. Just as with the first game, in the second one, the inciting incident is a result of Sean trying to protect his brother. That sets their new objective and reveals Daniel's powers. However, there is a crucial difference. We, as Sean, can do nothing about it. This time, we don't have any powers, which changes the dynamic of both characters. Max was always using her powers to protect Chloe, but Sean, on the other side, does what he can to repress Daniel's, also to protect him. They also learn from their relationship, which defines their character arc. Before I continue, I am aware that there are different endings depending on your decisions, but I will talk as if I got the redemption ending, and I'll explain why. In fact, I've been talking about Life is Strange 1 as if I sacrificed Chloe, which also has an explanation. So, why do I take into account these endings? It is actually very simple. For those who don't know, when you write a story, you always have to think about your character's dramatic need. A dramatic need is what your character needs as a person, instead of what they want. For example, in Up, the 2009 Pixar movie, Carl desperately wants to land his house in Paradise Falls in honor of his deceased wife, Ellie. However, what he has to realize, in other words, what his romantic need is that he has to move on and stop attaching his memories of her to their house and start living his new adventure. Obviously, he does realize it and completes his character arc. As to Life is Strange 1, as I said before, Max needs to realize she has been using her powers for her own benefit, even though it is to help someone she loves. She's been so obsessed with Chloe's safety that she has forgotten everything else, which clearly is unhealthy. Therefore, she has created a fatal destiny for a whole town, and she has to comprehend that, unlike with Chloe's destiny, she can do something about it. She has to let go of her in order to move on. Then there is Sean. His dramatic need is to find out who he is as a person and discover what role does he want to play in society. Throughout the game, he puts Daniel before anything else, which leads him to act immorally and forget the values his father taught him. He needs to realize he has become what society expected him to be all along, a criminal, and that he has to clean his conscience as well as his name. In other words, he can't let his mistakes and criminal behavior of the last months define his identity. He has to face the consequences of his choices and actions. And that's why the redemption ending is the only one that I feel is truthful to his character. And I feel the creators of the game felt the same way. A clear hint of this is Sean's glass eye. In this ending, his eye is white, symbolizing his purity as a person, and that now, after owning the consequences of his actions, he has cleaned his conscience. However, in the two other endings in which he is still alive, his glass eye is black, symbolizing his refusal to evolve as a person and unwillingness to change. It also shows that his character arc hasn't gone the way it should, especially in the Blood Brothers ending, in which I feel Sean's character is broken. He has no morality and he has forgotten the values his family tried to teach him. He is no longer the Sean we know. He has become a criminal. So, returning to the first ending, similarly to Max, Sean has to make sacrifices and let go of his loved one in order to move on. However, this time, he sacrifices his own life, letting the police put him in prison. He's been obsessed with Daniel's safety, and he learns his best option is to be separated from him to give him a new and better life. In both stories, the protagonist's dramatic need is to realize that, even though it will be extremely hurtful, they have to let go of the person they love the most. They have to make sacrifices and embrace their changes as a person, learning from their journey and mistakes. And, despite being away from each other and having to start a new life, they will never forget. So, this is the end of the video. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section and tell me if you have some ideas for future videos. Thanks for watching.